Hello and welcome back to This Day in History. It is July 3rd, 2024. Not that it really matters what year it is, but it's more about the day and the history of the day. And we have some interesting history, both for our American history as well as some, to our neighbors to the north. So let's get into it, shall we? Birthdays. I'm going to butcher this because 1854 sees the birth of Leos Janáček. I'm not sure. Forgive me. Czech speakers, I don't really know how to pronounce a lot of the syllables and consonants in your language, and so I apologize, but this guy was a Czech composer born in 1854, Leos Janáček, Janacek, and it's got those little things over the A and the C. So, 1906, we see a Russian-born British actor by the name of George Sanders is born. 1962, Tom Cruise is born. And if you don't know who Tom Cruise is, well, what rock have you been under? He's most notably known for, his Top Gun movies. He was in Taps. He was in the Jack Reacher movie. There was a couple Jack Reacher movies that I thought they were amazing. He's done a lot of stuff. Like he's had the Mission Impossible movies. Those are very notable for him. At any rate, he was born on this day in 1962. 1970, another American actress. She's an American actress and singer, by the way. If you hadn't figured out, Tom Cruise, American actor. Sorry, I forgot to, put that in there. But American actress Audra McDonald, she was born on this day in 1970. 1971, Australian computer programmer Julian Assange, he was born on this day in 1971. And, he was the WikiLeaks guy, if I remember right. And he's living in exile to avoid prosecution for some of the stuff that he had put up on WikiLeaks. He's kind of like basically a whistleblower, kind of like Edward Snowden. 1987, we see the birth of Sebastian Vettel. Who is Sebastian Vettel? Sebastian Vettel is a German race car driver. I don't really follow racing in any capacity, whether it's human, horse, dog, automobile. I never found the appeal of watching an object run around a track all damn day, but that's just me. But at any rate, happy birthday to this German race car driver by the name of Sebastian Vettel, or Vettel. That's the birthdays. I said that we had some interesting history for our neighbors up north, and here it is. 1608, Samuel de Champlain founded the city of Quebec. Lake Champlain, I'd always wondered who Champlain was. Lake Champlain, likelihood's named after him as well because it's around Quebec. But the interesting thing about the city of Quebec is that it's the first European base in Canada, and it was founded by Samuel de Champlain. So, happy birthday to you Quebecers out there. Funny, since yesterday was Canada Day, and now today is, I guess, Quebec Day. I don't know. We fast forward to 1775, and it is on this day in 1775, on July 3rd, 1775, George Washington officially assumes command of the Continental Army. He's nominated by the Continental Congress. He's appointed as the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army, and assumes command on this day. Fast forward to 1856, the U.S. House, the Congress, okay? Congress votes to admit Kansas to statehood under the anti-slavery resolution known as the Topeka Constitution. Despite the opposition of the U.S. Senate and President Franklin Pierce, they opposed Kansas being admitted into the Union. But you got to remember, it was all part of that deal that had been worked out, that from that point going forward, anytime states were admitted to the Union, there had to be two of them. One was pro-slavery, one was anti-slavery, and this was all part of that. It was all part of why we have a two-state system. I mean, it's still in effect today. The last two states that were admitted into the Union were Alaska and Hawaii, 1949, 1950, respectively. But it's always two states that go in roughly around the same time. It's usually within a year of each other, 6 months or something like that. So, Hawaii came in, Alaska came in late 1949, Hawaii came in, early 1950, and those were the last two states. So, if you ever hear talk about how, we should make Washington, D.C. its own state, or we should make Puerto Rico its own state, or we should make Guam its own state, or the thing is, like, by tradition, because, the 13th Amendment abolished slavery, so it's not really, it's more tradition now than for actual applied purpose. It'd have to be two states coming in. While I agree that residents of the District of Columbia should have representation in the Senate, they should have representation in the House. Currently they don't, because they don't have statehood. And the reason why they don't have statehood is because when Washington, D.C. was founded, it was founded on the principle that no state would have ownership of the national capital, that the national capital would be its own district and not be subjugated to the whims of any one particular state. It's possible that there was thought that if the national capital remained in a state, then that state would carry a lot of power and a lot of favor, and they would dictate a lot of policy. So, as much as I would love to see representation for the residents of Washington, D.C., it's never going to have a statehood for exactly that reason. Likewise, if they were to, for some miraculous reason, decide that they were going to buck tradition and make it a state, well, then they'd have to add another state to it, because by tradition, always two there are. I just did a Star Wars reference, sorry. Anyway, moving right along. 1969, Brian Jones, weeks prior to this date, 1969, he was a band member of the Rolling Stones, British rock band. He was fired. But it is on this day, these weeks after the firing, that he's found dead. His body is found in his swimming pool. And on that note, 2 years later, on the same day, July 3rd, 2 years later, Jim Morrison, who was the frontman for The Doors, well, he dies at the age of 27. He had a cardiac arrest, and it was drug related. So he was one of quite a few American musicians that earned their place in what they call the 27 Club, meaning Jim Morrison died at the age of 27. Janis Joplin died at the age of 27. Jimi Hendrix died at the age of 27. I believe Kurt Cobain was also 27. So it's not a prestigious club to want to belong to, not really. I think Amy Winehouse was also 27. If that's the Amy that I'm thinking of that passed. At any rate, 27, cardiac arrest, meaning it was drugs. And I believe he died in France, because that's where he was living at the time. Drugs are bad, okay? Don't do them. Otherwise, you end up dead early in life when you have a full measure of life ahead of you. So let this be a lesson to you kids out there. Don't do drugs. 5 years later, the year is 1976, an Israeli commando squad led by Dan Shamron launched a rescue of hostages. It was an airline hijacking in Tebe, Uganda. So I have a sneaking suspicion this dude was Mossad, and so, or well, Israeli commandos are, they're nothing to shake a stick at. I mean, and if they're Mossad, they're equally dangerous. So, the Israeli commandos they're just as lethal as any one of our special forces, whether it's, Navy SEALs or Marine Recon or, our Delta Force or our Rangers or our airborne guys. They're total badasses, right? They're tough fighters, and they don't give up. And it's like, you want to go send a team in to go wreck some stuff and to, get the job done. Israelis are no slouch. I have a lot of mad respect for the Israeli people. I have a lot of respect for their military. Being a Christian, I have a love for them because they're God's chosen people. So I have mad respect for the Israelis. And so, it's like anytime someone messes with the Israelis, I'm grabbing the popcorn and I'm like, this is going to be entertaining. Because, while I some time ago in a previous video, I chastised Israel a little bit on being better about the collateral damage. And I still believe that. If you can do better, do better. But I also firmly believe that, if you're attacked, take care of your business. I fully support it. Just, try to limit it to the actual combatants and not kill the non-combatants. That's all. I get that war is hell and casualties of war do happen. They do exist. I'm not so naive to think that it can't exist, but, it is what it is. On this day in 1985, Back to the Future was released in American theaters. In 2013, the Egyptian president Mohamed Morsi was removed from office by military action. I think that was 2013. So that was well after the whole Muslim Brotherhood thing, where they kind of swept over northern Africa. I vaguely remember that. I don't think I was really paying much attention to that. But today's featured event is, the year is 1863. We had a couple days ago, on July 1st, the Battle of Gettysburg had kicked off. And it is today in 1863 that the Battle of Gettysburg comes to an end with a resounding defeat of the Confederate forces. The Union is victorious, but there's heavy casualties on both sides. And it was just a bloody mess. Lincoln would come later, and he would deliver his powerful Gettysburg Address speech, and he would consecrate it as hallowed ground, and ordered that soldiers from both sides be buried there, and that land there eventually became Arlington National Cemetery, if I recall correctly. But it was that's huge, because he ordered both the Confederate dead and the Union dead to be buried together because they were brothers. And he saw the Confederates as our American brothers, and it was a conflict that just really shouldn't have happened. And but he was committed to wanting to see the nation heal, and I think part of his ideology in seeing the nation healed and going towards a reconstruction or a restoration was to, you know, these men were forged in the crucible of battle, whether they were opponents or they were friendlies or they were foes. They were cemented in the annals of history, and they were, they deserved to have to be placed in hallowed ground. And so that battle place, there was an area reserved where all the dead were buried, with honor. So that concludes this day in history. I have to shove off to work because they want me in early. So it's a beautiful, bright, sunny day. I don't even see any clouds, blue skies. It's great. So I got to head out. But be blessed, all of you. Take care, and we'll do it again tomorrow for July 4th, Independence Day of the United States. So I might do a special episode just for that. So I don't know. We'll see. At any rate, take care. Be blessed. Have a good day. Bye.